साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. ओम 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 नारायण नारायण. Light is too low. Yeah, I hope this is clearer. First talk, I don't know how it is going to come in live. YouTube live I'm trying today. If it works, I shall continue. Okay. Today we are going to study Mulavidya Nirasa, the next talk. Okay, the Jignasu Pratipatti. Jignasu Pratipatti, it is a common man's thinking. Pratipatti means an understanding, means how a common man understands. Because we have to start with where we are. Now, what does a common man think about these three states, waking, dream and deep sleep? About states, about oneself. Okay. What does he think about oneself? About himself? And also what is his thinking about these three states? If we know, from there we can start. Start means what? We can start correcting his misunderstanding about the states. Okay. Now let us see. Sushupti kale prapanchosti. He thinks that world is there. See, the common man's thinking is world is there on its own. That means world existed before I enter into this world. World exists independent of my perception. This is common man's thinking. World exists independent of my perception. Even when I don't exist, world existed. Now I am in this. Even I pass away, even after I pass away, world continues to exist. So in the waking state, world is an independent existence, independent of the seer me. Therefore, this world, which is independent of my perception, continues to exist even in deep sleep. See, people think that within in fact, not only the world exists. In fact, he thinks that I am sleeping only in the world. See, he is in waking state, and he works hard and then goes elsewhere here. By the time night falls, and again it's a late in the night, and he feels sleepy, goes to his room, lies down and sleeps. That means he is sleeping only in his waking world alone. In this world he is sleeping. That's what he thinks, doesn't he? So you see, sushupti kalepi prapanchosti atra bhavati jignasoha pratipattihi. A jignasu, a common man, thinks like that. See, yadyapi jagrati vidyamanam vishayajatam swapne nopalabhyate. Okay. The waking world, the waking objects or the waking world is not perceived during dream. He says, during dream I understand, waking world I don't perceive. He accepts that. That much is good favor that he accepts. Yadyapi jagrati vidyamanam vishayajatam swapne nopalabhyate. Oh, waking objects are not perceived. Waking world he doesn't deny. Waking world continues to exist during my dream. Only I don't perceive waking objects. This much he accepts. I do not perceive waking objects. Swapne nopalabhyate sushuptaucha sarvavida vishayananubhutihi sakala jana sadharani. Then what happens in deep sleep? No, according to a common man. Waking world is an independent and real world. It exists independent of me and my perception, my perceiving it. Whether I perceive it or not, world exists. In dream, also this world exists. I go to the dream world, I perceive something. Only thing is, during the perception of dream, I don't perceive the waking objects, though waking world exists. See, he thinks like that. This is a very common man's thinking. So we don't need much contemplation to understand this, because this is how we all think normally. Then what about deep sleep? Sushuptaucha sarvavida vishayan anubhutihi. Sushupti, I perceive neither this waking world, nor I will have my own imaginary world. But he thinks waking is an independent world, dream is an imaginary world, whereas in deep sleep, I perceive neither this world nor my imaginary world. In short, no world whatsoever. Therefore, sarvavidha vishaya ananubhutihi. I experience no world. Sakala jana sadharani. This is a common experience of everybody. It is known to everybody that in deep sleep we do not experience any world. Any world means neither the waking world, which is a real and independent, nor my imaginary and private and personal world. This waking world, common man thinks, is a common world, universal world, independent and universal world. Whereas dream is a personal, private and imaginary. Personal, private, imaginary. Whereas the waking is universal, not personal. Private, it is common to all. Private means it is independent world, common to all, and not imaginary because it is really there. Okay. So in deep sleep, I do not perceive. Waking world exists, but I do not perceive. Dream, of course, dream is a world which is purely my imagined. When I don't imagine, it doesn't exist. But I don't perceive any world. Sarva vidha vishayan anubhutihi sakala jana sadharani tathapi naitavata nishprapanchatvam atmanaha seddhumarhati. Therefore, by just because I do not perceive any world, it doesn't mean that in deep sleep I exist without any world. See, my non-perceiving of the world doesn't disprove the existence of the world. See, he thinks that I am unable to perceive due to defect in my mind. Just as I close my eyes, just as I can close my eyes and I open and use my eyes, similarly I can use my mind and close my mind. We don't call them close, but something like closing the mind. I am not using the mind. Okay? Here, my mind is not active and functioning. Mind is asleep. I am not using my mind. This is what common man thinks. In waking state, I open my eyes and see them. When I close my eyes, I can't perceive certain things. Similarly, when I use my mind, I can see the world. When I don't use my mind, I do not perceive the world. It doesn't mean world doesn't exist. Okay? I do not perceive the world. That's all. Okay? Therefore, nishprapancham atmanaha seddhum arhati. So therefore, Atma is a nishprapancha. Atma is oneself. My consciousness is without the world, you cannot prove. Means Atma is totally, Atma alone exists. See, nishprapancham means Atma alone exists and world doesn't exist. The total non-existence of the world cannot be proven, because he thinks that just because I don't perceive the world doesn't prove that world doesn't exist. See, this is how the common man thinks. See, just because I don't perceive, because I have closed my eyes and closed my mind. I am not using my mind, but world exists all along. Like before, as before. Again, when I open my eyes, I see them. Similarly, when I when I use my mind, when my mind becomes active and starts, when a mind becomes active, it starts perceiving the world. That means world is there. Okay. I don't know whether it is working or not, whether it is on or not, I am unable to understand. No. Oh. Hello? How to go live, I am not able to understand. Whether is it live? Yeah. Oh. Anyway, I okay. Om. Continue. Orientation. I think I shall continue. So, tatha naitavata nishprapancham atmanah siddhati. Atma alone, nishprapancham means Atma alone is non-dual. Means Atma is non-dual and the world itself doesn't exist. This cannot be proven just by deep sleep. What he means to say ultimately is, in waking the world is, in the waking of course the world is, in dream too I perceive some imaginary world. In spite of my perception of the imaginary world, waking world is there outside. Waking world is there outside, I am not perceiving. Okay? Even when I go to sleep also, the waking world continues like before, I fail to perceive. In dream, I perceive some imaginary world, I don't perceive the waking world. In deep sleep also, I do not perceive the waking world, but the world itself continues to exist like before. Therefore, world existence of the world is assured. The world is existing and Therefore, Atma is never all alone, non-dual, without the world. Atma is never non-dual, without the world. In waking, world is. In dream also, I don't perceive, but it exists. In deep sleep also, it exists. That means Atma sometimes perceives the world, sometimes doesn't perceive the world. In waking, I perceive the world. In dream, I don't perceive this world, but I perceive some other world. In deep sleep, I do not perceive, but the world exists. Therefore, in all these three states, I can never be alone, independent, without the world. That means I am never free from the world. World is a parallel. Idea is, I am never free from the parallel world. There is a parallel world. I exist and world also exists. I may not perceive, but it exists. Therefore, Atma is never free from the world, divested of the world. Atma is always associated with the world, either perceived or remains unperceived but remains there, parallel to me. This is what a common man's thinking is. Okay, we start from here. Tathahi, just as. Why? How do we say that the world exists? But in dream, you have not perceived this world. You ask him. You ask a common man, but in dream, you have not perceived the world. He says, yes, I have not perceived the world. In deep sleep, yes, I have not perceived. Then how do you say that at least in dream, this world didn't exist? You must admit. You ask the common man. In waking state, world is there since you are perceiving, okay, I can accept. But in dream, you must say that the world didn't exist. He says, I was not perceiving the waking world. I was perceiving only some imaginary world. I was only imagining some world. But I can't deny the existence of the waking world. What about deep sleep? Same with the deep sleep. Even in deep sleep, I was unable to perceive the world because I have left out my mind. My mind became inactive, or I have closed my mind. So I was just fast asleep. Sleep means what? Not using the mind, not using the sense organs, and just lying down, relaxed, without perceiving the world, but world exists. How do you know? Since you have not perceived the waking world during dream and deep sleep, how can you say the world continue to exist like before? He says, that is because suptothitaha sarvepi yatha purvameva prapancham upalabhante jagrati. Because once I come back to waking state, once I wake up, I see the world like before. Not only I see the world like before, earlier I saw the waking world. When I go to sleep and come back, when I come back from my sleep, when I wake up from my sleep, I continue to see the world, but I also understand that this world has been existing even when I was asleep. Okay? This is what common man thinks. Even when I was asleep, world has been existing. See, nacha kaschid samshayate. How do you know? How do you know that world continues to exist even when you are asleep? Did you perceive during sleep? No, during deep sleep I did not perceive. Then you must admit that the world did not exist. No, I can't say that. How? Why? Because I did not perceive the world during my deep sleep, but once I wake up, I see the world continuing. You can ask, okay, I accept that during sleep you did not see, but once you wake up, you continue to see. But does it mean that it existed when you did not sleep? When you did not see during deep sleep. When you are sleeping, the world continued to exist. How can you say that? How can you say the world continued to exist when you were in sleep? He gives the reason. Because the same world I am seeing, it is not a new world I am creating. The world which I saw before I went to sleep, when I come back to sleep, I see the same world. How? Because nakaschidapi samshayate, nobody doubts regarding this world. When you wake up from sleep, when you see the table, see the people and all the things like before. Do you doubt, is it the same world which I saw before I went to sleep? Have I woken up into the same world? Or I have woken up into another world? Nobody doubts. If you doubt it, you need urgently to go to mental hospital. But nobody doubts like, of course you won't go, somebody else will take you. If you think like, nakaschidapi samshayate idameva vasyat man madiyam gruham. Is this the same house? Is this my house? Or I have come to somebody's house? Nobody says. Yasmin aham yaharatrau sushvapa. Last night I slept in a house. Is it the same house in which I slept last night? Or kim anyadeva vaiti? Or it is a different world? This doubt nobody entertains. Or vyavaharecha anyai saha. Again, when you are talking to another person, nakadapi visamvado bhavati. When you talk to another person, how do you say? As if he is so familiar to you, known to you. You talk to him, hello, you talk to him like before. Yesterday you met him, today you meet him in the office again and you talk to him like before. Okay, your place of work. But you don't doubt that yesterday I saw somebody, but is he the same person or he could be another person? Do you doubt and verify, are you the same person whom I saw yesterday? Or is it the same office, same building and same people? Or you are a totally new person? Nobody doubts, nobody asks like that. Okay. Kasyachidapi supti purvatana jagratya anubhutasya vishayasya tadavastya vishaye. That the continuity of the world. I am not able to understand what to do with this word. What to do? How? Orientation locked. It's not working. Anyway, I have to ask somebody and correct it. Until then, I shall continue here. So tomorrow I'll be able to do it properly. So vyavaharecha anyai saha nakadapi visamvado bhavati kasyachidapi supti purvatana jagratyanubhutasya vishayasya tadavastya vishaye. In identifying anubhuta vishaya tadavastya, in identifying the objects of the world to be same, in identifying you have no doubt. Means you have nothing to prevent you, nothing to obstruct your identification. You recognize the world to be same. Tadavastya vishaye, in recognizing the world to be the same as the one which I saw before I went to sleep. Previous world, the same previous world I am seeing. It means the world is continuing. Sushupting gate hi sati ekasmin purushe na sarvepi prasupta bhavantiti na tadanim jagrat vichitya syat. See, the world would have, this doubt would have arisen. What doubt? Is this the same world or is it a different world? We have a clear recognition of the same world. This recognition of the world would have been broken, would have been difficult if each time when I wake up I start seeing a new world. Each time I wake up If I see a fresh world, then I have to introduce myself to each object. I have to become familiar with each object. Again, when I meet a person, you have to newly, freshly introduce him, know him, and all those things. So each time you go to sleep, world disappears, and again each time you go. But that doesn't happen. He says, Sushupting gate sati. When I go to sleep, ekasmin purushe. When I go to sleep, na sarvepi prasupta bhavanti. Because this world is a common world, common to many other people. It is not my personal and private. It is a universal and common world. Okay? It is common to all. It is a universal world. So it is not a private. We are all sharing this world together. We live the world. We are many people and share this world together. Therefore, if it were personal, private world like a dream world, when I go to sleep, no dream. When I come to the dream, again a new world starts. Since dream is a personal, private world, it exists only when I see. When I don't see, it doesn't exist. When I don't perceive, it doesn't exist. But unlike the dream, waking is a common and universal world. Common. Universal means everybody's. Common to all. It is everybody's and common to all. Therefore, sushupting gate sati ekasmin purushena sarvepi prasupta bhavanti. Since we are all commonly experiencing, if all of us sleep together, then the world disappears. If all of us simultaneously disappear. But it's not like that. Some of us sleep, some of us are awake. If all of us sleep, probably the world comes to an end. So, if sushupting gate sati ekasmin purushe na sarvepi prasupta bhavanti. When one person sleeps, all of them don't go to sleep. Na tadanim jagrat vichitti syat. Ekasmin purushe na sarvepi prasupta bhavanti iti. Since everybody is not going to sleep, only one person sleeps, others are awake and watching the world and using the world. And the same world I re-enter. Therefore, there is no question of world breaking and restarting newly. World doesn't break, world continues. I take a break. World doesn't take a break from me. World doesn't cease to exist. World continues to exist like before. It is me who take off. Take a leave. Okay? This is what common man thinks. Apicha yadi sushuptau sarvopyayam prapanchaha samuchidyeta atyantameva. If the world comes to an end, completely collapses. Vichittihi means completely collapses. Collapsing means cease to exist. If the world were to collapse with my going to sleep, when I go to sleep, if the world were to totally collapse, then what happens? Kathamidam upapadyeta yad jagarite niyatam prapanchopalambanam. If the world were to collapse with my going to sleep, how am I able to see the same world when I wake up again? If it broke completely, then I would not be able to see. See all these books and people and etc. I am seeing the same thing. See, supposing you wrote something, you read some book, you go to sleep, you wake up. Where you read, from there you can continue. Supposing you are writing something, you wrote one sentence and you didn't get it. The sentence you left in between. Half of the sentence you wrote and you left it. You go to sleep, you wake up. The sentence remains there alone. Isn't it? Sentence remains there alone, you have to continue from there. Anything you left out there, half unfinished or half finished work, when you wake up, you have to continue from there. That means it is the same world. If it were new world each time, when you start, again everything fresh. You write a book, suppose, you go to sleep and you wake up, there is a empty. The book will be erased and nothing, you have to rewrite again next day. That doesn't happen. Because the world is a real world, continues to a universal world. My going to sleep only only shows that I take rest, I go away from the world doesn't come to an end. See here, the purpose is to show, does world come to an end? Does world get dismantled totally? Does world get dismantled? If world gets dismantled, you can say by that in deep sleep there is no world, Atma alone is. You can prove that Atma alone is. Because in the beginning, first paragraph, in the first paragraph, the outlines of Vedantic Prakriya. Outlines of Vedantic Prakriya was told that how the Atma becomes independent of the world ceases to exist, Atma alone is. So Atma's connection with the world is broken, and the world also doesn't cease to exist. Atma is non-dual and free from the world. Atma is free from samsara. This can be proven by examining the three states. Siddhanti told briefly his Vedanta Prakriya that a person can be proven to show that by just examining the three states. Common man says this Vedantin's explanation is too much. It is just unacceptable. They are all living in imaginary world. They are speculating a lot. How can the world cease to exist just because I go to sleep? He says, this doesn't seem to be convincing. This is not at all convincing. World is there very much. Who can throw away the world? Who can break the world? Just because you go to sleep, you mean the world should cease to exist? This is too much. Childish this is. This is all childish philosophy, that the world doesn't exist in deep sleep. Therefore, by examining three states, you become independent of the world doesn't exist. How can you say that? World is there, very much. Nahi samuchidyeta. World doesn't get dismantled. Kathamidam upapadyeta yad jagarite niyatam. If the world were to cease, world was to totally get dismantled with my going to sleep, how can I, when I wake up, I come to see the same world? How can I see the same world so surely? Niyatam, he says Swamiji here. Niyatam means definitely. I am seeing the same world without any doubt. I am so sure that the world is same. How can you perceive the same world so surely? Because the world is the same. World doesn't come to an end. That means when world is there, world is Satyam. Atma is there, world is also there. Both are Satyam. By examining three states, world is real, eternal. I am also real, eternal. Because I am undergoing three states. Common man thinks I am undergoing three states. That means I exist. I may be resting. In dream, I have got my mind. I don't have sense organs, but I have got mind. In deep sleep, I am not using my mind, but I exist. Okay? My body is resting and I exist. I am not using my mind. When I wake up, my mind and sense organs wake up and we continue to see the world. Therefore, world is eternal, continues to exist, it doesn't break. Therefore, world is existing, I am existing. These two, world and me, continuously exist. Therefore, examination of three states doesn't prove that Atma alone exists and world ceases to exist. World doesn't exist at all. It is not at all proven by observing, examining the three states. But Siddhanti told, let him say anything. Common man says, let him say anything. But you can't deny the self-evident world, which is a matter of everybody's experience. My own experience, your own experiences, we are not mental cases. This much we are sure. If I were mental case, what about other people? Other people are also seeing the world. You call the whole world mental case? What do you mean? If I see my seeing the world again, the same world. If you say I was a mental case, therefore I am seeing the world, then what about all others? When everybody is seeing, how can you call this a mental case? It is a reality. It is a universal fact. What is a universal fact cannot be denied by anybody. The universality is a proof of its reality. Okay? This is how the common man thinks. All science say the same thing. The world is real because it is a universal phenomenon. Even when I go to sleep for a while, doesn't cease to exist. World is there, it is real and eternal, substantial, real and eternal. I also exist, world also exists, we both exist together. That's all. Nobody can get rid of any one of them. Neither the world nor the me. Okay, nahi pratijagaram abhuta purvameva jagrat pratyagram utpadyate iti shakyate abhyupagantum. You can't hold that. Each time when you come to waking, each time a new world you create. You can't say that. Sakala pramana virodena abhava, because that is a too illogical thing. That the world ceases to exist with you are going to sleep. And then when you wake up again, a fresh world is created. This is only a speculation. Nobody's experience confirms it. Okay? It tallies with nobody's experience. Sakala pramana virodena abhavadapi bhavotpatti svikruta mabhut. Then if that were to be accepted, if you accept like that, then what happened? The world which has ceased to exist, which is totally dismantled. The sun, moon and star, first thing is nobody dismantles, but only just for argument's sake. If suppose the world has totally got dismantled, it is totally ceases to exist, then what happens? From nowhere you have to create the new world when you wake up. Is it anybody's experience that a fresh world we are creating it? First you woke up, what do you see? There is all blank and now I am started creating it. Are you creating? Are you requesting God, God, I woke up now, but I see there is nothing, all blank, please create a world for me. God says, okay, just wait a minute, I'm coming. I'll just create a world for you. Does he ever say like that? Or do you ever experience like that? So therefore, if the world was to cease to exist in deep sleep and again arises again, that means that a world which ceased to exist, from that absence world is created. How from the emptiness world can be created? Nobody can create. I'll give you some blank. Blank means there is nothing. From the nothing you create a book. From nothing you create a tree. From total blank, how can anybody create? So it doesn't work. Therefore, sakala pramana virodhena, it is against perception, against our experience, against our logic, that means inference, it is against everything. Okay. Abhavadapi bhavotpatti svekruta mabhuditi nachaitaduchitam tadevedamiti nischita tadbhavavagamakassya pratyabhijnanasya upekshatvapadanamiti asati badhake. Therefore, it is not at all acceptable to deny the recognition of the world, continuity of the world, the recognition of the world that it is the same world. My recognition of the world as the same world, which is a matter of everybody's experience, nobody can deny, you also should not deny. Denying means you deny what is evident, what is a matter of your experience. You are experiencing, yet orally you deny. Nobody, you don't gain anything just by orally denying, talking against your own experience. Okay? Tasmat nyaya parishuddha na bhati sushupte prapancho na vidyate ityuktihi. Therefore, Siddhanti in his first paragraph, in his outlines of Vedantic Prakriya, he told there is no world in deep sleep. Common man says, it doesn't carry any conviction to me. It doesn't convince me at all. Okay, it doesn't convince me at all that tasman nyaya parishuddha nabhyati sushupte prapancho, therefore there is no world in deep sleep. This doesn't convince me at all. Next point, jagrat swapnayoha prapancho drishyate. We'll go slowly. Okay, since we take every day, we'll take a small short. And today this live talk I am unable to connect, so I'll talk to him and then I'll talk to him and get connected. Therefore, I'll go right now. So this is giving trouble. Since I have not used it for so many, I think more than 1 year or more than 2 years, I have not used it, this live. So I am unable to do that. I'll learn and do it, okay? So today, this much is enough. for today's. So the third passage we have completed. Still another two passages. Purvapakshi. Purvapakshi means common man. Common man is functioning, is acting as a Purvapakshi to the Vedantic Prakriya. That means how common man's understanding goes against Vedantic Prakriya. That means Vedantin has to work a lot. He has to work a lot to explain to him, he has to correct his common man's misunderstanding and bring him to the Vedantic vision. Not by brainwashing, by showing the fact. Where common man is going wrong, he has to point out and correct his mistake and show the reality, show the fact to him. But the common man's thinking is such a way that it goes totally against what Vedantic Prakriya is. Vedanta says that in deep sleep there is no world. That means you are independent of the world. Without the world, you alone, Atma alone exists. He says examination of three states is not enough to prove that the world doesn't exist. Probably you may have to bring something else. You may have to say something else to prove that the world exists. That means to disprove the existence of the world. You may have to do something else extra, but merely examining the three states is not at all enough to prove that world doesn't exist. Atma alone exists. Atma is free from the world. This cannot be proven by examining the three states, because this is how the common man thinks. Okay? What more common man thinks, we'll see in the next class. And then what Siddhanti says. It's a little slow. Swamiji discusses many things. We go slowly. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat.